Many people are interested in family history, but are not quite sure where to start. This series of videos is designed to help the beginner get started and to give some tips and recommendations to more experienced family history researchers. So where do I start to learn and record my family history?
You start with you. You start with what you already know, and you work back in time. Biggest mistake some people make is they start with the family myth, like I'm descended from Friar Tuck, and then you're already in trouble. So you need to start with you, and then you work back from you. And you basically draw a really simple table starting with you and who your parents are, and then who their parents were. And you go back as far as you know, and also make a note of any of the myths or the stories that are in the oral family history, the knowledge, the things that everyone knows about the family. You know, we came from Ireland. We had someone fight in World War I. We had all those sorts of things. Make a note of those things. But the most important thing to start with is you, and to work back from as far as you can until you hit a brick wall with what you already definitely know. And then when you reach the limit of that, you start talking to people in the family, particularly the older people, the elders, the wise people of the family, who are very often carrying a lot of information about your family that nobody's been interested to find out, and they're busting to actually share it. So you go to them and you start to ask them, okay, who was granddad's father and mother? Who was our great-great-grandfather? What do you know? How far can you take me back? And start to get interested. And the other thing is, don't assume that what you've been told is true. The chances are it might be a little bit true, or it's not true at all. The other thing that's really amazing, once you start going back, you start to realize, the more that you learn, the more you start to realize the history of your family is deeply intrinsically tied up with the history of the planet. And you will have had family members deeply involved in the major events of the past. And as soon as you start going back in time, there is an enormous range of resources available where you can start to find out really specific information about your ancestors. For example, if you do have a World War I veteran in your family, you can go on the National Library website and you can actually access specific full documents regarding your veteran online. You can actually see their whole record history from when they enlisted to where they served, any injuries, when they went AWOL, the medals they earned, everything is there online, and it's free. Before you start looking for their birth certificates, I would try and exhaust whatever living memory there is still available. And so I would go to the eldest, again, I'd go to the eldest member of your family. In your case, it's your mother. And you'd probably be surprised if you asked her, if you asked her specific questions, just how much she actually knew. So you, first of all, just, who were your grandparents? So that's already going back a generation further than you know. And she may even know further back than that. And you get all that information, and you get as much specific information as you can. So you want to know, what, even if she doesn't know necessarily the town that they came from, she might have a sense of the region or the area, and she might have like little bits of information, like the family lost a lot of money on the Russian railroad, for example. So that gives you a clue about status, financial circumstances of the family. That's also a specific point in time that could be pinpointed on a timeline, like a year, a date, which helps you understand a little bit about where the family was at that particular point in time. Basically, get as much information as you can that is in living memory. So, because that will save you it could save you a lot of time, and it also will give you a whole bunch of clues that even at the time that you hear that piece of information, it might not seem significant. But when you go back and, you learn a bit more, you go, hey, didn't Mum say something about that? You go back, all of a sudden, that little tidbit can take on a lot more significance, and it can actually open. It's amazing, like the clues can often be a gateway to a whole raft of information that you would never have guessed was there.
So the best advice to get started learning and recording family history is to capture what you know yourself about your family. Identify what you know and what you don't know and need to find out from your family. Things like maiden names, birth dates or death dates of family members, places they've lived, occupations and the like. Talk to any family elders that are still living about what they know of the family and write down any information they can give you. Chances are there's someone in your family that knows quite a lot already. Get curious about everything to do with your family, where they lived, where they came from, what papers are available such as passports or letters or deeds. Draw up a simple family tree, just using pencil and paper back as far as your grandparents or further if you know the information. And importantly, keep a note or record where each piece of information came from. Carefully record all the information you can gather in a book or journal or in a computer document. Some of this information will be able to be put into a digital family tree that you will develop later on.